Hi, this is your professor, Ann Babson, and I'm going to talk to you for a minute just about that room where I was recording other videos. Did you see how plain and white the walls were? Did you see how boring it looked in there? How your soul could die in there because there was nothing natural and true that you could trust? Well, let me show you. If I'm a romantic poet of the kind that we are reading in this section of the course, I would think that would be a cause for me to have a death of soul. And what I would do is I would leave the confines of built places by people, and I would go off in search of the sublime. Here I go, in search of the sublime. I haven't quite found my way to a natural grotto, but I have at least found... Yes, I have found a tree. You can't trust people, according to the romantic poets. Do you know who you could trust? You could trust a tree. You could trust a cloud of blooming daffodils. You could trust anything in nature, a storm at sea, anything that brings you closer to the sublime. The sublime is not the same thing as the divine for the medieval thinker. The divine is the power of God. The sublime includes the truthful power of nature. And that could be an extraordinarily beautiful scenery of some kind, but it could also be a deeply felt emotion of any kind in relation to the display of nature. You can't trust society or people to tell you the truth. You can't trust particularly religion in Blake's poem, The Garden of Love. The garden is the place where the truth is. It is not the church, according to Blake. It was probably a good thing for Blake that at the time during his life, though he is now one of the most respected poets of English history, at the time he probably would have been killed as a heretic for saying some of the things he said. He has another poem I didn't include in your syllabus where he says to little children in the poem, don't go to Sunday school where the school teacher is mean and the walls are all made out of stone and hence cold. Go to the tavern where drunk people are and there's music. That'd be a good place for you to learn something. You can guess that that's probably not an attitude that Child Protective Services would appreciate today. But the Romantics had this idea that nature would tell them the truth, that beauty in and of itself was a grand virtue, and that we should become as natural as possible and flee into the woods, and that we should experience not so much actions, not so much an assuming of human responsibility, but an awareness of life and death through the emotional sensations that nature engenders. And we see this in the poems in this section of the course. The poets, once more, are in search of the sublime. Sublime. I would write it on a whiteboard, except I'm not in the place of the whiteboard. I'm in the place of the tree. I'm thinking like a romantic poet today for you to understand.